Good evening to you all. Welcome to another video where we are going to discuss more questions regarding the previous topic which we have discussed in the previous video regarding the topic president. So the question is, which one of the following amendment to the Indian Constitution empower the president to send back any matter for reconsideration by the Council of Ministers? So this question is basically asking that uh, is the advice given by the PM and his Council of Ministers to President, can it be sent back by the President for reconsideration or not? So for this you must know that Article 74 of Indian Constitution says that there shall be a Council of Ministers headed by Prime Minister to aid and advise President in his function. But there is a provision in this article also, and this provision was added in the 44th Amendment, Constitutional Amendment Act 1978, that the advice given by Prime Minister and his CUM can be sent back by the President for for reconsideration once, not more than that. Once it can be sent back, but if again PM and CUM send this advice to the send that matter or send that advice to the president, then that advice is binding for the president. So only for one time it can be sent back to the prime minister and his council of ministers. For your information, earlier in the 42nd amendment, which is also called mini constitution and which took place in 1976 under the Indira Gandhi, this advice was made binding on the president for the first time only. There was no option for sending back the advice. So here the answer is 44th amendment. So I had tried to hide the answer so that you can also solve this question uh, and check yourself. Coming to the next question, the president can dissolve Lok Sabha on. So this question is about dissolution of Lok Sabha, and you must always remember that dissolution always take place in Lok Sabha only, because Rajya Sabha is a permanent house which is not dissolved, though their member one third member retire after every 2 years. So there is no such election in the Rajya Sabha like general election after every 5 years. Their member continuously retire after every 2 years. So when we talk of dissolution, we talk only of Lok Sabha. So you must remember that the dissolution of Lok Sabha take place in two ways. First is automatic dissolution. Automatic dissolution. What does it mean by automatic dissolution, or we call it normal dissolution? This dissolution basically take place when the 5 year tenure of Lok Sabha is completed. In this situation, the leader of the majority party or leader of the that ruling party uh, advises the president to dissolve the Lok Sabha so that the new government can can be put in power. So that is the first case where the dissolution take place. Second situation is that when the leader of majority loses his number or majority in the Lok Sabha. Suppose the ruling party loses no confidence motion in the Lok Sabha, then it is up to the president who take the decision. Like he calls for the opposition parties or opposition allies to form government, or to prove majority in the Lok Sabha. But in case the opposition is also not able to form the government, then the president dissolve Lok Sabha. This situation is basically, in British parliamentary language, it is called hung parliament, where no party is being able to form the government. And you must remember that in both situations, the president do not act in his discretion. It is only the prime minister and his council of ministers who advises president to dissolve Lok Sabha, because I told you that under Article 74, it is the council of ministers headed by COM that aid and advise the president. So in both situations, the president is being advised by the COM and prime minister. So the answer of this question is a recommendation of Union Cabinet. That is answer statement C. So it must be clear to you that in automatic dissolution, when the tenure is up, the president advises the prime minister and his council of ministers advises to dissolve the Lok Sabha to form the new government. And in the second case, when there is situation of hung parliament, no party is being able to form the government, then the president dissolve the Lok Sabha and call for fresh election so that a new government can be formed. So these are the two situations when the dissolution of Lok Sabha take place, and there is no such dissolution in the Rajya Sabha, that you must always remember. It is only the prime minister and his COM who advises the president to dissolve the Lok Sabha, because in the first situation, as I told you that in the normal dissolution, the incumbent PM and his COM advises the president when their tenure is up to dissolve the Lok Sabha. And in the second situation, I told you that when there is situation of hung parliament, president uses discretion to allow the opposition to form the government. But when they are not able to form the government, president call for dissolve the Lok Sabha and call for new election. But here also the prime minister and his COM, which was there, who has lost the majority earlier, they act as a caretaker government. So here also this PM and COM advises the president to dissolve the Lok Sabha. So president never take the decision independently. He or she always act on the aid and advice of the prime minister and the council of ministers. Coming to the next question, the joint sitting of House of People and Council of State is summoned by. So up to now you must have understood the meaning of these words: House of People, that is Lok Sabha, and Council of State, that is Rajya Sabha. So it is question is asking about the joint sitting of both houses is summoned by. So you must always remember that the joint sitting of House of the Parliament is always summoned by the President, and we will learn about this joint sitting in the chapter of Parliament more in more details. But for a brief information, I want to tell you that this concept of joint sitting is basically used to resolve the deadlock situation in the Parliament. Deadlock in the passage of bills. And this deadlock situation arises in three cases. Situation 1, where Suppose the Lok Sabha passes a bill and Rajya Sabha outrightly reject the bill. So that is the first situation where the deadlock arises. Second situation is that suppose when the Lok Sabha passes a bill and it goes to Rajya Sabha and Rajya Sabha recommends some amendment to that bill and send back to the Lok Sabha. But Lok Sabha is not ready to accept those amendments. Then also the deadlock arises. Third situation is that when the Lok Sabha passes the bill but Rajya Sabha did not take any action till 6 months on that bill, then also a situation of deadlock arises. So these are the three situations when the deadlock arises. So to resolve this deadlock, our constitution has devised uh, um, a process which we call as the joint sitting of both houses of the parliament, where Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha sit together and vote for that bill. So here the question is asking about who summoned that joint sitting. So it is always the president, and you must remember that that joint sitting is presided by the speaker of Lok Sabha. In case the speaker is absent, then the deputy speaker of Lok Sabha take the charge, and in case the deputy speaker is also not there, then the chairman of Rajya Sabha do not preside over the joint sitting. Rather, the deputy chairman of Rajya Sabha take the charge, because the logic behind not making the vice president as the presiding officer of joint sitting is that he or she is not a member of that parliament. So that is the logic behind, I think. But here the question is asking about it is summoned by, then answer is president. So coming to the next question, an article, you must remember that article of joint sitting is 108. Joint sitting of Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha under article this is summoned by. So I told you that it is the president who summon the joint sitting in the case of deadlock of bill. Coming to the next question, who among the following can call joint sitting? President. President of India addresses Parliament under Article 86 of the Indian Constitution. So, so from the statement you can easily guess out that this article is not related to the joint sitting, because Article 108 is related to the joint sitting. So the answer must be the both houses of parliament assembled together. So this basically, if I tell you that this article 87 is basically related to the special address of president, and there is a simple address also which is under article 86, but special address in the sense that there are two special address by the president. First is when the first session take place after each general election. So this special address take place in two situation in two session. First is the first session after each general election. So suppose in 2019 Modi government came to power, and the first session after the general election new government come to power, then a special address is given by the president. Second situation is when when at the first session of each year, and that is always the budget session which start in the Feb month. So these are the two instances where the special address of president take place. So this question is about assembling together of the both houses. So in the situation, the special address take place when the both houses of parliament assembled together. Which one of the following statement about the president of India is not correct? He is a constituent part of parliament. That is true. I told you that parliament comprises of Lok Sabha, Rajya Sabha plus president. He participates in discussion in the both houses. He addresses the joint meeting of both houses every year. He can promulgate ordinances in certain situations. So we will read in much detail about the ordinances in the next videos. But that is the power of the president. That is correct. He addresses the joint meeting. So I told you that joint meeting take place of both houses of parliament at the special address by president, and this special address take place at two instances. First, at the first session after each general election, which take place after 5 years in normal situation. So this is the first instance when the joint meeting is held. Second is that first session of each year. So suppose in this year 2023, the session will start in Feb, and that session is called budget session. So the first session at the first session joint meeting of both houses will be called by the president. So these are the two instances when this take place. So here the answer. So here the remaining statement is that he participates in discussion in the both houses. So as we know that president do not take part in the discussion, as he is also not the member of the either house of the parliament. So this power has not been given to the president. So the answer is B. So coming to the next question, the only instance when the president of India exercises his power of veto. So I also made this question wrong because there was a bit confusion in the interpretation of the question. So this question is asking about the veto power of the president. The veto power is used by the president in various circumstances. For example, we will understand this veto power through an example. Suppose a bill is presented to the president. The president has some option regarding the bill. He can give assent to the bill, that is, he can pass that bill. He can withhold assent, that is, he does not give assent to the bill. Third situation is when the president send back that bill for the reconsideration of the parliament. That we call suspensive veto, and when it withhold the assent, does not sign, it is called absolute veto. And a third type of veto is also there, pocket veto. Pocket veto, as the name suggests, the president does not take any decision on the bill. It keep it pending for an indefinite period. So that is called pocket veto. So these are the suggestion when this veto power is used by the president. But as this question is very factual, so we can remember the answer of this question, or we can remember some instances when this veto power was used. So in the Hindu code bill, we can eliminate some statement like Hindu code bill was passed, dowry prohibition bill was passed in a joint sitting. So that is in this way we can eliminate two statement. Pepsu appropriation bill. So in this particular bill, which type of veto was used? Absolute one. That is, president withhold the assent to the bill. And this next Indian Post Office Amendment Bill the pocket veto was used. So there may be confusion regarding that of which veto is this question talking about. But uh, if we focus more on the question, then it says that President of India exercise his power of veto. His This phrase emphasizes that it is talking about the instance when the president has the full discretion to veto the bill. So in the case of pocket veto only, president has absolute discretion where there is no aid and advice from the council of minister. While in the case of absolute veto, president take decision on the aid and advice of the COM and the prime minister. So you can, in this way you can remember that in this particular type of bill this veto was used, and in this pocket veto was used. And this information is very factual, and it has been clearly written in the book also. So coming to the next question, who among the following president exercise a power which is pocket veto in the constitutional terminology? So you can also remember this bill, that who was the president at that time who used this particular type of veto. So it was Gyani Jail Singh who used this pocket veto in terms in the bill Indian Post Office Amendment Bill. In this bill, pocket veto was used. So the answer is C. Coming to the next question, under which of the following Indian Constitution President of India enjoy the power to withhold his assent to any bill passed by both houses of the parliament? So this is a very factual question where article has been asked with regard to veto power. So the veto power are defined in the article 111. So that is that you can remember. Coming to the next question, who amongst the following has the power to withhold assent to bill after it has been passed by both houses of the parliament? So this power has been given to the president. So I told you that the process of the veto, who uses this veto? Veto is a power especially designed for the president. Which among the following are the discretionary power of the president? So though there are very less discretionary power to the president in comparison to the governor, but there are situations when the president uses discretion. So in the appointment of the council of minister, so there is no discretion in the appointment of council of minister. So this statement is there is no discretion, because it is the prime minister who suggests to the president to whom he wanted to make the ministers. So that is incorrect. To return a bill with objection, so that is where the discretion is used. But here also there is some confusion regarding the interpretation. There can be some confusion. To withhold, in to pardon, here the discretion is not used. To summon the joint session, discretion is not used. To send message, not used. Appointment of judge, not discretion is not used. It is all on the advice, aid and advice of the uh, cabinet, that is PM and the council of minister. To withhold a will, here the discretion is not used, because I told you that in the absolute veto the in council of minister cabinet give advice to the president. To return a bill with objection, so I think this statement seems to be incorrect, correct, because in case of suspensive veto there is a personal discretion of the president. So there is some confusion regarding this statement, but you can more or less remember when the discretion power of the president is not used and when it is used, and we will further more discuss about this discretionary power of the president in the next questions or videos. So coming to the next question, on which matter it is not essential for the president to take advice from the council of ministers. Appointment of ambassador, that is executive power of the president. So I told you the article 74 clearly says that president cannot use his independent wisdom to take decision. It works on the aid and advice of the council of minister. So that is incorrect. To assent to the bill, to assent the bill referred by the governor, to dissolve Lok Sabha, to assent on the constitutional amendment bill. So um, so coming to the statement, um, assent to the bill referred by the governor. So when the bill are reserved by the governor for the consideration of the president, then president act according to the aid and advice of the CM. So that is correct. That is incorrect. Here aid and advice is taken. Here also aid and advice is taken. To dissolve Lok Sabha, I told you that in the dissolution of Lok Sabha, always the aid and advice of president is taken. To assent on the constitutional amendment bill. So this statement seems to be some confusing, because uh, to give assent on the constitutional amendment bill, it is mandatory on the part of president that president must give assent to this bill, because it was made mandatory by the 24th Constitutional Amendment Act in 1971, that president has to compulsorily give assent to the that constitutional amendment bill. And to assent to the bill, so I think that is a discretion of the president to give assent to the bill, because here the various veto are used, suspensive veto is used, pocket veto is used, whether there is a scope of discretion. So there is a bit confusion regarding these both statements, but like, it depend on the PCS also, which PCS ask this question and what they give in the answer key. So here they give the statement B as the correct answer, but you have to be clear on the concept that what are the things where the advice has to be taken, and when which are the situation where the president use his or her discretion. So that is more important than coming to the right answer. Under which article of Indian Constitution did president give assent to the ordinance on electoral reform when it was sent back? So that is regarding the article related to ordinance. Then the article related to ordinance was 123. So that is the particular article which is related to the ordinance making power of the president. So I will also tell you that how this process take place, when and where these ordinance are made by the issued by the president. Under which of the following article of Constitution President of India has been empowered to promulgate an ordinance? So always remember there are some articles which are generally asked in the exam. That article regarding the ordinance is 123, veto is 111, joint sitting is 108. So these are some articles you can remember easily. They are generally asked multiple times. Coming to the next question, under which article president again this is related to ordinances, then the article is 123. An ordinance promulgated by the president must be placed before the parliament within the time frame after the start of session, that is 6 weeks. So shortly we will understand this process of ordinance. So coming to the process of ordinance making. So what is this special power of president? So as we know that to make a law, a bill has to be introduced in both houses and passed by both houses, that is Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, and then it has to be signed by president. Then only a bill convert into a law. But there are situations when Rajya Sabha or Lok Sabha are not in session, either both of them or one of them, then this process cannot be done. But here a device has been there provided in our constitution where the president can make law, and this law making by president is called ordinance making, issuing ordinance by president. So when this ordinance is made, every ordinance issued by the president during this recess of parliament, when the either house or one of the house or the both of the house are not in session. So as I told you, then when this ordinance is made, it has to be laid down before both houses of parliament, and if it is passed by both houses of parliament, then that ordinance become act. But in the second situation, when the parliament does not take any action after the house reassemble, whether both Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha, when they reassemble, if they do not take any action within 6 weeks, then these ordinances become null and void. And the third situation is that when the parliament take action within 6 weeks, it can cease to operate before 6 weeks also. So these are the situation when the ordinance is made, and what will be its duration when it is made. So in some situation it also happens that one of the house is dissolved, like Lok Sabha is dissolved, and we know that Rajya Sabha is a continuous chamber, and Lok Sabha is dissolved and election are held, and election are to be held, we know that they are to be held within 6 months, because there cannot be more than a 6 month gap between two sessions of parliament. So the maximum life of an ordinance can be 6 month, 6 month plus 6 week. 6 week is that because when the Lok Sabha after dissolving comes to power after a process of election of 6 months, when it reassemble, then it will be given 6 week period time. So this 6 month of process plus 6 weeks extra grace period is given. So total it make up to 6 months and 6 weeks. So the maximum life of an ordinance is 6 months, 6 weeks. And there is one more situation when the president has also the power to withdraw the ordinance. As we know that the president work on the advice of COM. So COM can advise the president to take back the ordinance. So that is also the case when the ordinance can be taken back. Beside the situation when I told you that Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha does not take action within 6 weeks. So in that situation also the ordinance cease to operate, and if they vote disapprove, then it can also be null and void. It cease to operate. But if they both sign within 6 weeks, then it become the act. So these are the situation when this ordinance uh, period continues. Coming to the next question, which among the following are appointed by the President of India? So Chairman of Finance Commission is appointed by the President of India. Chairman of Planning Commission. So we know that the Prime Minister is the chairperson or chairman of the Planning Commission. So the Vice Chairperson or Vice Chairman of Planning Commission is appointed by the Prime Minister, not by the President. Chief Minister of Union Territory. So we know that the union territory are directly uh, under the central government. So the chief minister of union territory are appointed by the president. So that is true. So here the answer is C, 1 and 3. So this says that you can read this in the Finance Commission. The chairman of Finance Commission is appointed by the President of India, and Chief Minister of Union Territory shall be appointed by the President. And there are only two Union Territory which have the Chief Minister, that is Delhi and Pondicherry at present. And other ministers shall be appointed on the advice of Chief Minister, and the minister shall hold office during the pleasure of President. The Vice Chairman of Planning Commission is appointed by the Prime Minister. So that make this statement two false and 1 and 2 as only the correct. Who among the following is appointed by the President of India? So Attorney General of India is appointed. Yes, CAG is also appointed. Governor of the state are also appointed. So here the answer is D, because you can read in the book that these all important constitutional posts are appointed by the President. Which among the following is not appointed by the President of India? So Chief Election Commissioner is appointed. Governor is also appointed. Prime Minister is also appointed, but the Vice President, there is election. I told you in the previous videos where electoral college is there who appoint the Vice President. So the answer must be A. The Constitution of India authorizes President to make provision for discharge of duties of governor in extraordinary circumstances. So I also do not know the answer of this question. So we can read out from this explanation only that as per Article 160 of Indian Constitution, in President may make provision as he think fit for the discharge of duties of governor. So here you can remember the article, that article is 160 with regard to governor, where the President make provision for the discharge of his duties. Indian Constitution does not empower the President of India with the right of, he obviously appoint the Prime Minister, appointment of Chief Minister in the state. So that is not the task of President, that is the task of Governor. Being the Supreme Commander of Defense Force, that is correct. Executing emergency in any part of the country, that is true, because all the executive decisions are taken by the President. Emergency is also executed by the President. So here the answer must be B. So the answer is correct. Coming to the next question, which of the article Indian Constitution empower President to consult Supreme Court? So we will discuss about this advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court with regard to the President in the chapter of Supreme Court. But here, for your information, this article is Article 143. It is related to the advisory jurisdiction of President, where the President consults the Supreme Court on some constitutional matters. So next question is, which of the following is incorrect about the power of President of India? President should accept the advice of Supreme Court. Emergency power. Power of extension of President rule in the state. President can accept or reject advice of Supreme Court. So which is incorrect? So I think A is incorrect, because President, that under Article 143, which is advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court, so no advice is binding on the President. So answer must be A, because the advice is not binding on the President when the President take advice from the Supreme Court on any constitutional matter. So that you can remember, and we will read about this more in detail in the chapter of Supreme Court when we will discuss the Supreme Court. According to Constitution, Which among the following literally not a power of the President of India? So promulgation of ordinance is a power under Article 123. To consult the Supreme Court under Article 143, that is the power of President. To send message, so that is not a power. To grant pardon, that is a power of President. So here you can interpret this statement. I also had a confusion regarding this, but here the answer is C, because it says that it is not a power. It is in the article. It must be written that it is a right of the president, not a power. So here the answer is C. President of India does not have right to give pardon. That is there. Remove a judge of Supreme Court. Declare emergency. Pass ordinance. Pass ordinance is a power. Declare emergency is a power. Remove a judge of Supreme Court. So removal of Supreme Court judge is not the power of president. Though the president removed the uh, judge of the Supreme Court, but when the bill is passed by the Parliament, then only he can remove the judge of Supreme Court. So answer I think must be B. So it clearly says does not have right to remove the judge of Supreme Court. That is a special provision how this process take place for the removal of the Supreme Court judges. The power of president to grant pardon is. So this question has been asked many times where there is a confusion. So some says that it's a judicial power because it is related to the judiciary, because judicial punishment is being pardoned by the president. Executive power. So I think the answer is executive power, because I have though I have read that earlier, but I will explain why the executive power. Yeah, because this power of president to grant pardon is based on the aid and advice of COM to the president, while the judicial power is that when so, so I was telling that judicial power are those power where the president act as a judge. So in the literal sense, judiciary has only the judicial power. All other power are just executive power. So this question, I think the answer of this question is executive power. So there may be some. So I think this question was asked in UPSC also, where it gave the answer as executive power, not as a judicial power. But as of now, if we go by this answer, then it was judicial power as it has been written in the book. But you may search, you can search about this statement, and I will also tell you in the next videos that is it a judicial power or executive power.